Hello and welcome to another Planet Zoo video, um, where we will talk about Planet Zoo again, or rather Planet Zoo 2 this time, because of course we have to talk about the Planet Zoo 2 announcement. Like we knew that Planet Zoo 2 was coming, or at least that new information about this was coming this year. This is what they said last year, but we didn't know when and what and when the game is going to come, and now we know when. Um, it's like 4 months or 4.5 months from now, and yeah, I don't know how I'm supposed to wait 4 months. But of course, we first of all will take a look at the trailer, and yeah, talk about what we see in the trailer, talk about what they said on the website. Like, there's quite a bit of information about the game on the website yet, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about here. There's a lot of stuff that I'm excited for, and I'm really excited for Planes 2. But there's some positive, some negative things, mostly positive here that yeah I really want to talk about, but we'll get into that. So let's start with the trailer, and just in this first frame, without even having to start the trailer, there's already quite a few things that we can see, that we can um, talk about, which first of all is the guests. So the style of the guests remains the same as in Planet Zoo 1. There was a bit of discussion about that, whether they will do more realistic guests like we have in Prehistoric Kingdom, and I personally would prefer that, as I personally prefer the more naturalistic look. But at the end of the day, I don't care about the guests. Like, I don't play the game to look at the guests. I play to look at the animals in the enclosures, and are pretty much the same style as the first game. The guests, yeah, I would have preferred more realistic, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. But what we can talk about is the style of the plants, and this one is very interesting because um, what we see is that the plants, like, I honestly expected or I hoped for a bit more in that regard. Like, don't get me wrong, the plants look very good. They look a lot better than most of the plants in Planet Zoo. But I kind of expected or hoped for very photorealistic plants, like really Red Dead Redemption or Ark Survival Ascended kind of style plants, like really going the more photorealistic aspect. But I guess that would be probably too much for the performance of such a game. These games will always, these creative building games will always have less quality in textures and models than some RPGs, for example, because placing all these things down generally is very performance costly, so they tend to don't look as good, sadly, as what you see in something like Red Dead Redemption, even though that game is a bit older right now, like Red Dead Redemption 2 specifically. Um, yeah, so the interesting thing is that some of the plants look almost more comically than in the first game, like these palms, for example. I feel like the ones in the first games almost look better. What I really like are the green tones. The green tones seem to be very aligned with each other, so there's no plants that are very bright and some that are very dull and some are more bluish and some are more yellowish. That seems to be kind of a bit closer together, all of it. So it looks less less contradictory. When you build an enclosure, you often had the problem that these plants tended to not really fit with each other because green tones they had were kind of not really compatible. What we also see is this vine, and this looks a lot like the Terra Stigma vine from the first game. Interestingly, it almost looks not as good. Like, if you look at the leaves, of course we don't see it up close, but if you look at the leaves, they had more detail, like the veins on the leaves and so on were more pronounced in the Terra Stigma vine. What I like better is the growth pattern. So they seem to be easier to use. They don't seem, the Terra Stigma vines were just this one bow, this one curve, and they were kind of hard to use. And these seem to be more well compatible. Okay, they seem to be easier to use. And I really like that we're getting standard vines right off the bat. This was something like Planet Zoo was lacking at the beginning. We only had ivy. And the thing about ivy is that it only fits really temperate settings. And the ivy we had in the game also was completely flat. It was completely two-dimensional. So I really didn't use it a lot. But yeah, this one is compatible for both temperate and tropical settings. It's just a very standard vine type of plant, climbing plant. And plants like that with these single leaves also exist in temperate environments. So yeah, you can use them basically in every environment, which is very good. So I'm really happy we get stuff like this. And we'll see later that they, of course, also added a lot of plants that grow on the side of things. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. What we also see here is that there's a few very small plants. So especially this one here, I think it's like an orchid or something. And this is very good because Planet Zoo really had a problem with that there weren't a lot of small plants and there weren't a lot of single plants. So most of the plants in Planet Zoo were clusters. Now this got better in later packs, like with the Lords and Ladies plant or the maize, like the corn plant. They had single versions and cluster versions, but most of the base game plants just, even the smallest version was already a very large cluster with like 5 or more plants, which I found really annoying to work with. And I really hope we will get more single plants in this game. And it seems like there are already a few in this trailer. But let's first of all hit the play button because we haven't done that at all, and just watch some more of the trailer. Yeah, you can of course see the guests, and here we already see some more plants. Again, as you might know, I always care about the plants a lot. So what we see here is like a very standard deciduous tree. What I don't like that much is that you see these single bulbs of leaves. This is something that always makes a tree look very game-ish. So it makes them look less realistic and more like a game when you have these single clusters of leaves in there. But we don't see this with all trees. We see this with some trees. There will be some more later on. But with these big ones and the back ones, they don't have that. They seem to be more homogeneous, as well as this one. This seems a lot like I think it was called Eagle Tree or something like that we had in Planet Zoo. They were like part of some DLC. I don't remember which one. I think also the Tropical DLC. So this looks like a more standard tree, and I really love that we are getting some trees that have really leaves only at the top, because this is what plants that grow in forests look like. They don't have like a stem and then a very big bowl of leaves, like a very big bush. Kind of like if you took this and just had the stem be very short, but instead they form leaves at the very top only because they are in direct competition with other trees that, of course, also want the sunlight. And this is why trees growing in forests always are wider at the top than they are at the bottom. They always are almost like a reverse triangle shape. And this is something that seems to be the case with these trees, so I will be using these a lot. They look very nice. Again, these palms don't look that good in my opinion, these cluster palms. The coconut palms are fine. I still feel they could look better, but they look better than the ones in the first game, I think. These small palms here, of which we will see more later on, they look amazing. These are something like the Kentia palm, I think. They look amazing. And here we also see bamboo. And sadly, the bamboo seems to have a similar issue in the first game, which is just the thing I just talked about, that they have like these very big bushes, these very big clusters, instead of having like singular bamboo plants that you can build your own forests with or your own thickets with, instead of just already having these very big clusters, which in my opinion always looks weird. These just don't look natural. These are just big balls of leaves. This is not how plants look in real life. But in the background here, we see one thinner, smaller plant which looks a bit better. And also, what I thought about before is we've seen in this first shot, we of course have these vines and we have these bamboo pieces. And since they said on the website that apparently scenery will be scalable, we don't know about plants, but I'm assuming everything will be scalable, probably, hopefully. So we definitely have we can scale like these bamboo pieces. I don't even know if they're bamboo pieces. Maybe they're also just wood pieces. What I'm trying to say is you could potentially build your own bamboo plants by just building your own stem with these bamboo pieces and then putting these leaves on there because they vaguely look like bamboo leaves. So yeah, the bamboo not looking too perfect is fine if you consider the fact that you can probably build your own bamboo. And at first I was like, okay, I don't really care too much about the animals, simply because, well, not the animals, but how the animals look. simply because the animals in Planet Zoo always looked very good. Like in the base game, like some of the older animals in the base game, like the lion, they didn't look as good, but the animals in later packs, they looked very good. And yeah, so I didn't really care about how the animals looked, but we'll see in a minute that these tigers, they look absolutely amazing. Like the detail on them is so great. Yeah, here we see the tiger mother. Um, and yeah, as you can see, like the detail, like the shading of the fur, it just looks so good. And what we also see here is some more plants, which I find very interesting. First of all, we have more plants that grow on the side of trees. We have at least 2 different ferns or palms here. This seems to be the basket fern that we had in the first game, and this seems to be a completely different palm fern, whatever thing. Um, and also to just go back here, because we have to wait now. Um, to this shot, we see a few things that are very important to me. First of all, mushrooms. Okay, here we have mushrooms, which is something that we didn't have in the first game at all. Except for these very big glowing cave mushrooms, which, well, they were very big and they were glowing. But here we have just normal mushrooms, and especially for stuff like forest floors, these are extremely good to have, and something that we were really missing in the first game. And also this fern in the foreground here, it looks absolutely amazing. It's probably like the standard bracken fern, and this one looks incredibly good, which, again, I find it very interesting that some of the plants look just okay-ish, and some of them look really, really good. Like this fern is absolutely amazing. Also, mushrooms growing on the side of the tree, that's pretty cool. Generally, having more plants, and I mean, mushrooms are not plants, they're fungi, but um, stuff that grows at the side of things, both at the side of trees, at the side of rocks. That's really the kind of stuff that I really want to see in this game more. And another thing that is really outstanding here is the grass, because I'm assuming that this is not some grass that you place down, like the buffalo grass, but really the standard grass, the brush grass that you place with the terrain tool. Because this looks amazing. The grass in the first game off just looked, it just didn't look good. The grass blades, they were way too long and they didn't have the necessary contrast. They were just unicolor. And I think in the late Planet Zoo stages, nobody used that grass anymore. Everyone was just using the buffalo grass. And yeah, this grass looks absolutely phenomenal. It looks so good. It's so dense and so detailed. I really love this grass. But here we see a close-up of the guests, and they look exactly like in Plain Zoo. And this is like the big reveal of this trailer. Because we all knew that there will probably be birds in Planet Zoo too. But the question was whether there will be just birds or just fish or both of them. And I assumed that they will probably add one of those, but probably not both of them. But yeah, we have gotten fish. And it seems like, it's hard to tell from this trailer alone, but it seems like they are kind of very customizable. So it doesn't look like these are just um, pre-made aquariums, because this thing is enormous. As you can see, this is like at least 20 meters wide. I mean, it could still be an aquarium that is like pre-made and you have to place it down, but for me, it doesn't look like that. I don't think they would make this big pre-made aquariums. I really hope they don't. So this looks a lot like it is custom made. If they are pre-made, I really hope they are different sizes. There are also some smaller ones, because this one's very deep. This is like 10 meters deep. And I really want to have some more shallow aquariums, some that are like 1 or 2 meters deep, especially if we potentially get freshwater fish, like the Amazon fish and stuff like that, like arowanas and this kind of stuff. And yeah, so what we see here is that there's 2 types of animals in these aquariums, and the one is singular, very big animals like the mola mola here and the sea turtles, and the other ones are smaller schooling fish. So all of the smaller fish seem to be in school. So it's kind of like in Subnautica, where you have these big schools of fish moving around like one entity. And I think that's a very good solution to this, because if people that installed fish mods for Planet Zoo probably knew this, the fish will always swim around alone and it just doesn't look as good. So the fish just moving around in swarms exclusively just is a good solution to this. Of course, this is also not completely realistic, because there would also be fish moving alone naturally, but having the fish being just in swarms is better than having the fish being not in swarms at all, in my opinion. And yeah, I wonder if there will be different sizes of swarms. So these are very big swarms. Um, if you can also make smaller swarms where there's just 3 or 4 fish in them, I don't think you will. I think there will be like always the same size. But yeah, and regarding the stuff that we see here, of course, we have the mola, we have sea turtles, which is already pretty cool, as we didn't get any aquatic turtles in Planet Zoo, just the tortoises. I'm not counting the diamondback turtle because, like I said, exhibit animals in Planet Zoo don't really count for me. They are glass boxes at the end of the day. There's zero customizability, so they don't count for me. And yeah, so we haven't seen any swimming turtles so far. And apart from that, we of course have the Moorish idol, and we have yellow tanks. And these people have been saying these are sardines. Later on, there are also some that look a bit like mackerels to me, but they're like more standard gray fish, which is great to have as well. Having like these more standard fish that don't look as special. And of course, we also see coals here. I think we will see more of that in the next shot. Yeah. So this is of course a sea turtle, and I think sea turtles is amazing in this game. All of the tropical fish. I wonder if you will also be able to adjust the color of the water. This was the thing in Planet Zoo. You could change the color. You could change the transparency. So creating more bluish, like more azure colored water that's also more transparent would be amazing to create like really these tropical reefs, because this already looks very blue. But this is also relatively deep. Like for coral reef, this is already relatively deep. There's also again the type of water plant that in the first game, don't know what it was called, the standard water plant. And yeah, here we can see the coals a bit better. And the coals, of course, look amazing. We have like these horn coals. We have these tube coals here. Also different. There's like a what's called a purple one, and there's like blue ones. And these I don't know if these are even coals or if these are like plants, but there's a yellow and an orange variant, which makes me think whether there will be just different variants or whether these will be flexicolor. Because on the website they said that there will be flexicolor a lot. And this one as well, this brain coal here, there was like a purple one earlier in an earlier shot, and these also look very similar in blue. So it would be really cool if the coals are flexicolor and you can actually change their color. And also these rocks here look very cool. This seems to be some type of gravel. I've not seen this before. It seems to be some type of gravel. So I'm really wondering if this will be some type of rock or if this will be a texture. And I really hope we will be getting more textures, because in Planet Zoo we just had dirt, sand, and rock and grass at the end of the day. So I really hope we will be getting more variety in textures, such as mud or gravel. Especially for like pig enclosures, I really want mud. And of course, for stuff like for all kinds of different types of enclosures, gravel would be cool to have. Again, Prehistoric Kingdom has some amazing textures in the game. I really hope some similar stuff will be coming to Planet Zoo too. Oh, there's also like this shipwreck here. Yeah, again, there's also these aquatic plants that we had in the first game. But yeah, let's continue on. There's of course again a more standard bush here, and these are the vines once again. And also what I have to say is the rocks look absolutely amazing. First of all, we have these pebble clusters. We'll see them again later. And the rocks at all, in general, they just look amazing. Much better than the rocks in Planet Zoo. I really didn't like the standard rocks in Planet Zoo. They are way too round for my taste. I really like rocks that have more of these sharp edges. And also they I didn't really like the texture. They always look like almost moldy, and these ones seem to be a lot cleaner in their texture. I assume they will be flexicolor, because again the website said almost anything will be flexicolor. And yeah, they have these very sharp edges. I really like how these rocks look. I will be using them a lot. Is there something important here? Like this is like the architecture. We get reed, what's it called? I think it's called reed. Roofs in the base game, which is good. We really didn't get these in Planet Zoo until one of the later DLCs. And once again, the palms, they look amazing. These could be date palms or some type of cycad, I don't know. But yeah, more palms here. This almost looks like a Psycat. These look amazing. And here in the background, we have Monstera, I think. These could be Monstera. Also, stuff that grows on the wall. And again, this is pretty cool to have more plants that actually grow on the wall or that you can place next to the walls. That is amazing. Here we see more sort of the savanna animals like elephants. And we also see some dead bushes and dead trees, which is also something that we didn't really have in Planet Zoo. I think there were like 2 dead trees in the game, and that was it. So having more dead plants is, of course, awesome, and especially considering that there will be seasons. So what I really hope would be the case if you have seasons, if you have like winter, that some of the plants will actually transition from like the summer state to the winter state where they don't have leaves. So they will change the leaf color in autumn, and then in winter they will lose the leaves. And I really hope this will be the case for the plants, which would kind of beg the question: what happens to like palms in the winter? Will they just die? Which would be incredible if you actually had to pay attention to the temperature for plants as well. Or will they just stay the same like evergreen plants do? And once again, here you can see the new grass, which looks so good, as well as some of the new ground textures. For my taste, the ground textures could look a bit better. They could be a bit darker, have a bit more contrast. Again, Prehistoric Kingdom has these absolutely amazing textures, and Planet Zoo 1, one of the biggest issue, of course, were the textures in this game, in my opinion. But we'll see what type of texture will be in this game. Here we see a few more plants, like more standard bushes here and acacia trees. And of course, we see zebras, elephant, and wildebeest, so like the standard African savanna animals. The animals all look amazing. I don't really have to tell anything about the animals. They all look absolutely amazing. Then with chimpanzees, once again, these Cantia palms and these vines, they look pretty good. Another type of palm here. And these are also from the base, not the base game, from the previous game. These were like these bamboo palms. They look like bamboo almost. That were in like the aquatic pack. Oh, and what we also can see is that the monkeys will be able to brachiate. This is something that only a few of them could in the base game or in the last game, and they only could do it on very special structures. And now apparently they can do it on all kinds of structures, which is pretty cool. Of course, the crocodiles, the saltwater crocodile looks so good. It's such a massive upgrade. The saltwater crocodile in the last game, in my opinion, it was probably the worst looking of the crocodilians. I tended to use the caimans primarily because, first of all, they're smaller and they looked a lot better. But this one just looks so much more like a saltwater crocodile. Having like these, you can see like all the scales. It's not as dark. It's not as dark green like the one in the last game. Almost looked like an alligator from its coloration. And also we see some more eel grass or some aquatic grass here. Yeah, there's the crocodile. Like the textures on the animals just generally look amazing. I really love how these crocodiles look. There's like these green walls that we also had in the last game. I think they came in like the aquatic DLC as well. So nice to see them returning, even though these almost look like pre-made walls. Like these are probably not pieces on their own, but these are like blueprints. Because these plants resemble the plants we've seen so far, like the vines and the fern and so on. So probably these are not their pieces on their own, but instead they are pre-made plants. And now we, of course, also have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is, despite the fact that the elephant already was in the trailer, but yeah, which is birds. Birds were probably one of the most requested feature in Planet Zoo from basically the beginning. And we never gotten any flying bird. Like there were flightless birds, even though some of the flightless birds would have been able to fly, like flamingos. They can fly, but they just made them flightless in the game, which I understand. But even then, we didn't really get that many of these flightless flying birds like flamingos. We only had flamingos and peafowls, basically, I think. I don't know if there were some others later on, but most of the birds we've gotten were actually flightless birds, like rheas and ostriches and stuff like that. So they could have easily added like shoebills and pelicans and marabou storks, stuff like that. They are not more or less flightless than the flamingos. So they apparently didn't want to go too far in that direction because it probably would have created more questions about realism. So they just didn't do that. They probably even regretted adding flamingos, I could imagine. But that issue is out of the way now because we actually have flying birds. And one thing or two things I quickly want to mention here in this shot specifically is the door before we go on to the birds. Because I honestly really hope that we will this time get more of these interactive doors. Now, Planet Zoo only had this one type of door, like guest door, which could open. All the other doors, the guest would just clip through, which okay is fine. You could just build a building and then place a door there, and the guest would just clip through it, which is not too realistic, but more realistic than them just clipping through a wall, I guess, because at least the door is implied to be there, even though it doesn't open. I personally would prefer it if the doors would actually open. And there was always this one door in the game that would open, which is this one here. It looks exactly the same as in the first game. But there was only the wood variant, which I never understood because when we talk about the guest gates, the staff gates or the staff doors, they were more like doors, they were a lot smaller. There were different variants. There was a wood variant, there was a metal variant, there was a glass variant, but we never got the equivalent of that for the guest doors. We even got the big gate for the rides to pass through, and even there were two variants, the wood and the metal one, but not for the guest entrance. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't just add a variant to this. I mean, it's not too much work to just create a metal version or a glass version of this. You could even make like a glass sliding door that just slides to the side. I really, really hope we will get something like this time around because it just makes building so much easier and also so much more realistic when there's actually doors that will open for the guests to pass through. So yeah, just on a side note, I really hope we will get more doors. And also, I just wanted to mention again how absolutely amazing these rocks look. But enough japping, let's get on to like looking at the birds. And as you can see in the background already, yeah, they can hop and they can actually fly. And as it seems like they can actually fly really around, we'll see this in a minute. Let's go back. We'll see this in a minute that they apparently can fly around freely. And another thing that I wanted to mention here is the aviaries themselves, because the way they're described on the website is that, at least that's how I understand it, you place down barriers. Like these seem to be like the normal wooden barriers. This is like a normal barrier door. And the barriers, if you place a pole in the middle of the enclosure, it automatically generates these meshes here, these aviary meshes, which means that you can actually build these custom. You can make them smaller, you can make them bigger. They're not like predefined aviaries like the walkthrough exhibit that we had in the first game, but they're actually custom. And yeah, they look absolutely amazing. I always try to build something like that in Planet Zoo, but it just didn't really work. I mean, the best I got to was my Wolverine aviary, which wasn't really an aviary, but at least because it's like no birds, but still for climbing animals, aviaries also make sense. So you can even use these aviaries, this mechanic, you can even use this on stuff like cats and monkeys, which is a lot more realistic and something that a lot of zoos have. A lot of zoos actually have these aviaries for animals that don't fly, but that are just very good at climbing, like cats, monkeys, stuff like that. So yeah, you can not only use them for birds, at least I hope you can use them for other animals, but I don't see why you wouldn't. Because if they actually generate dynamically, then you could just turn every habitat into an aviary by just placing down these poles. And that's absolutely amazing. So I'm really excited for these areas. They look so amazing. Again, you can't really build something like that with modular pieces. But if it's because it's like so dynamic, it's like curved and all that. But if it's generating automatically, that's absolutely amazing. Because again, you can turn every habitat, no matter how big it is, you can turn it into an aviary. And here we once again see some of these plants in the background, some of these trees, which look really good. Like these ones here seem to be looking very good. This one is a bit bushy, not my favorite, but it's still fine. And here we see more of these smaller plants like the Cantia palms and Monstera. There's the King Fern. So we see a lot of returning plants from the first game. The King Fern, like these ones, but also some that I don't recognize yet. And yeah, as I said, this is also the Bird's Nest Fern and banana palms, of course. Of course, there would be banana palms. They're like in every game. Um, so yeah, these birds fly around freely in their enclosures, which is amazing and really makes me look forward to building tropical houses, especially with like the toucan. Um, there the background is becoming a little more sharp. That's what I wanted to see. Especially with the toucan and hopefully like parrots and stuff like that. I really hope that you can build like a tropical house that these birds can just roam around freely. I hope the aviaries are not mandatory. I do think the way I know Planet Zoo that or like Frontier, they always try to make a way to build habitats both easily and modularly. Is that the right word? What I mean is, in Planet Zoo, you could always just use the barriers, which often didn't look as good, but they were simple to use. But you could also just use modular pieces to get the same effect. So they would also work, they would just look better and were more work to do. And I really hope this is the case here as well, that you can use the aviary, which is a very easy way to do this by just placing down the poles and barriers around them, and then you have an aviary. But if you build an entire building, then you could still use that. So, for example, if I just go and build a giant glass dome, I can just let my birds roam around in there, and they're not able to clip through. At least that's what I hope again. But I think this, knowing how Frontier handles these things, I think this will be the case, hopefully. And yeah, again, I really look forward to building tropical houses. There's also like small monkeys confirmed, at least in the deluxe edition. So we can already have like 2 animals that can roam freely in there, which is birds, in this case the toucan, and hopefully some more like parrots. Um, as well as small monkeys, which is like the most quintessential animals that you generally have in these houses, next to iguanas. So I really hope we will be getting a habitat iguana this time around, and not just an exhibit iguana. It all depends on how the exhibits are. We don't know anything about that yet. There's of course the secretary, which is another bird. I think so far we have 4 birds being confirmed, that being the toucan, secretary, um, golden eagle, and whitetail eagle, I think. And the golden eagle is the deluxe animal. Here's once again these plants that seem to be very small. So when it comes to detailing, there seems to be a lot of options with the plants and the rocks, especially these rocks. They are very sharp, which is really nice. This is something I was really missing in Planet Zoo. There weren't any sharp rocks. Most of them were very rounded. And zoos generally use a lot of sharp rocks, which is just because they use them from quarries. Because if you get a rock in a zoo, you're either going to make false rocks, which are just easier to make, especially for larger rocks because they are light. You just build a skeleton out of metal, and then you put concrete on top of that, and the rock is hollow and therefore relatively light, and you don't have to transport a several ton rock into the zoo. But if you're going to use actual rocks, you're not going to use some natural rock that has been lying in some river for 300 years, but instead you're going to use a rock from a quarry that is actually mined there, because these are the rocks you can actually buy. And this means that most rocks in zoos actually are very sharp, very sharp edges. Not so sharp that you can hurt yourself, but like they are very edgy. They're not like rounded. And this is great to see that we are getting stuff like that here. This is amazing. Like everything we've seen so far in this trailer is pretty amazing. I think we can also see some type of fan palm here, which is great because fan palms, especially like hemp palms and stuff like that, I think they're called like that. They're called like that in German. Don't know what they're called in English. They are some of the most cold resistant palms. So these can survive temperatures of up to minus 10 degrees. Of course, this might not be the exact same species, but us just getting a fan palm in general is something I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, this once again confirms, like this last shot here, once again confirms that we are getting flying birds that can just fly freely. At least this is what all of this is hinting at. We see this again in the next shot. yeah, this one, we can see the secretaries fly around in the background. So it seems like that animals will actually be able, or the birds, and maybe bats if we might get some, will actually be able to fly around freely. They're not like limited to some type of aviary, which is what we always assumed they would implement and as. Like they are in the first game where you have the bat aviaries, and they are in Prehistoric Kingdom where you have these small aviaries for the dinosaur birds. But in this game, apparently the birds can fly everywhere. I wonder if they can fly out of the map, and if you're able to get them back. I hope they cannot. I hope they will just stay in the boundaries of the map, because this also means that if you build like a zoo in a certain region, you can just add native birds of that region to roam freely. Like if they add like a crow, for example, and you have like a European or North American zoo, you can just have crows or pigeons roam around in that zoo freely, because this is just animals that live there. So aside from the animals that are actually in the zoo, you can actually have the animals roam freely. And this roaming freely leads us to another thing that Flan Zoo 2 adds, which is what they're showcasing here, which is sanctuaries. So, in addition to the zoos where the animals are in their enclosures, you can actually have sanctuaries where the animals are roaming around freely in the world, which is also amazing. They will this kind of implements um, that, or kind of inclines that there will be natural predations and natural sustainable ecosystems where the predators will not just kill every animal they see, which is what it was like in Plain Zoo. You couldn't really have predators coexist with herbivores because the predators would just slaughter every single herbivore. But hopefully that's not the case this time, and we actually will see natural behavior in these animals, so you can actually have them roam free in an ecosystem. Of course, this one is showcasing the African savanna, but what I'm more interested in is like jungles, building tropical rainforests where both the birds fly around and you have like lizards and yeah, like stuff like jaguars and tapirs just roaming around freely. This is something I'm really looking forward to. And maybe you can even make like a jungle tour on a boat going through that. Yeah. So that's, I think, the rest of the trailer. Um, yeah, that's it. It's of course coming in October, so it's like 4.5 months from now on. Um, I don't know how I'm supposed to wait that long. I really hope that Frontier is at Gamescom so I can get tickets and test the game there. And yeah, there also was some more stuff revealed on the website, um, which includes some more species and some mechanics. This is how we know that how the aviars will work. What we don't know exactly how the aquatic species work, but if they can implement free flying, I think they can implement free diving. So that's that. I don't think the fish will be limited to some pre-made aquarium. I really hope they don't. Um, but yeah, that's the trailer for Planet Zoo. I think they will reveal more on the 6th, I think, the 6th of June, which is tomorrow while I'm recording this. Again, I didn't really have time to record it before because I was working and then my mic wasn't working properly. Um, so it's a bit late now, but we'll catch up on everything that Frontier gives us. And I hope to see you next time.